Hey everyone, welcome back to SpeakNext English Podcast. I'm Sophia.
Hello, dear friends. I'm James, and we are so incredibly happy you're here.
Seriously, every single time you show up here, it means the world to us.
If you're new here, please subscribe to our channel right now, today.
Hit that bell so you never ever miss our conversations and episodes.
And to our amazing returning listeners, welcome back. We genuinely missed you so much.
Today's topic is honestly one of the most important things we'll ever discuss here.
We're talking about why confidence is actually more important than perfect grammar in English.
This might sound controversial to some people, but stay with us because it's so true.
I know some of you are already disagreeing, and that's completely okay. Hear us out.
James, let me start by asking you something really honest and personal about this topic.
Sure, ask me anything. I'm an open book when it comes to English learning experiences, honestly.
Have you ever met someone with perfect English grammar who was completely impossible to talk to?
Oh, absolutely. I worked with someone once whose grammar was genuinely flawless and beautiful, technically.
But I sense there's a very big but coming right now based on your expression.
But every time we talked, it felt like pulling teeth, like an interview, not a conversation.
Why did it feel that way? What was actually missing from their communication despite perfect grammar?
Confidence. They second-guessed every sentence, paused constantly, whispered almost, and apologized for every tiny error.
So the perfect grammar was completely undermined by the lack of confidence in their delivery.
Completely. I found myself finishing their sentences just to relieve the awkward tension between us.
And have you met someone with imperfect grammar who was an absolute joy to talk with?
Yes, my friend Carlos speaks English with a lot of grammatical errors, honestly and freely.
But you love talking to Carlos, right? What makes him so enjoyable to have conversations with?
He's enthusiastic, expressive, completely unafraid to make mistakes, and his energy is just so infectious.
Even though his grammar isn't perfect, you always understand him and feel connected during conversations.
Always. I never feel awkward or uncomfortable talking with Carlos despite the grammatical imperfections everywhere.
That contrast between those two people tells us everything we need to know about this topic.
Confidence creates connection, while perfect grammar without confidence creates distance and discomfort between people.
Let's talk about what confidence actually looks like in English communication because it's specific and learnable.
Oh, good, because I think some people picture confidence as just being loud or bold somehow.
Right, some people think confident English means speaking fast or using big, impressive vocabulary always.
But that's not what we mean at all when we talk about communication confidence here today.
Communication confidence means being willing to speak even when you're not completely sure you're correct.
It means finishing your sentences instead of trailing off because you're worried about making a mistake.
It means looking at the person you're talking to instead of looking at the floor nervously.
It means recovering naturally when you do make a mistake instead of completely shutting down from it.
All of these things are learnable behaviors that don't require knowing perfect grammar to develop honestly.
Now let's talk about why grammar perfection became such an obsession for so many English learners.
Because school systems around the world teach English through grammar rules, tests, and written exercises primarily.
You get graded on whether your sentences are grammatically correct in examinations and homework assignments.
Red pen corrections on essays condition you to think that wrong grammar equals wrong communication, basically.
So you grow up believing that any grammatical error is a failure that needs to be avoided always.
And you bring that school-based thinking into real-life conversations where completely different rules apply.
Because in school, grammar is everything and determines your grade and sometimes your entire future academically.
But in real conversations, grammar is just one small part of what makes communication actually effective.
Confidence, expression, rhythm, enthusiasm, body language often matter more than grammar does.
You can communicate perfectly clearly with some grammatical errors if everything else is working well.
And you can have perfect grammar but communicate terribly if confidence and connection are completely absent.
Let's talk about something really important here, the difference between what listeners actually notice in conversation.
Yes, because learners often imagine native speakers are mentally grading every sentence they produce somehow.
Like there's a grammar judge sitting in the listener's head marking every error with a red pen.
The internal grammar judge. I genuinely believed that judge existed for so many years, honestly.
And that imaginary grammar judge made you terrified to speak in case you made any mistakes.
When in reality, that judge doesn't exist in most normal conversations between real human beings.
Native speakers are listening to your message and meaning, not analyzing your grammatical structures constantly.
They're thinking about what you just said and how they want to respond to your ideas.
Their brain is not running a grammar check on your sentences while simultaneously trying to engage with you.
That realization completely changed how I approach speaking in a foreign language when I truly understood it.
What changed specifically for you when you realized native speakers weren't judging your grammar constantly?
I started just talking. I stopped planning every sentence in my head before allowing myself to speak.
And when you started just talking without all that mental planning before every sentence, what happened?
Conversations became so much more natural and enjoyable for both me and the people I talked with.
Because you were actually present in the conversation instead of being inside your head the entire time.
Exactly. I was finally connecting with the person in front of me rather than my own anxiety.
Now let's talk about a study that really illustrates this confidence versus grammar point beautifully.
Oh, I love when there's actual research supporting what we're saying. Tell us about the study.
Researchers studied what made some non-native English speakers more successful in conversations with native speakers.
And was it the ones with the best grammar who were rated most successful and enjoyable to talk with?
Not at all. The most successful conversationalists were rated highest on confidence, enthusiasm, and responsiveness.
So the listeners rated how enjoyable someone was to talk with based on confidence, not grammar accuracy.
Precisely. The ones who spoke confidently and responded naturally created the best conversational experiences overall.
Even if those confident speakers were making more grammatical errors than the hesitant, technically correct speakers.
The confidence carried the conversation in a way that perfect grammar without confidence simply could not do.
That research finding should be absolutely liberating for every single English learner listening to us today.
It means you don't need to wait until your grammar is perfect before you start speaking confidently.
You can start building confidence right now at whatever grammar level you're currently at today.
And here's the beautiful thing, confidence and grammar actually improve together when you practice speaking regularly.
Oh, that's such an important point. Confidence and grammar don't compete with each other at all.
They're actually partners. When you speak confidently more often, you naturally improve your grammar through practice.
Because you're getting more real language input and output, which is exactly how grammar improves organically.
So, prioritizing confidence doesn't mean ignoring grammar. It means unlocking the practice that improves everything simultaneously.
Now let's talk about what specifically kills confidence in English learners, because this is so important.
The number one confidence killer is obsessively monitoring your own speech while you're speaking currently.
What does obsessive monitoring actually look like when someone is having a conversation in English?
It's when part of your brain is speaking while another part is simultaneously checking every word produced.
Like having a conversation while also running a quality control inspection on every word you say.
Your processing power gets split between communicating and monitoring, and both suffer as a result significantly.
The speech becomes halting, unnatural, and the actual message gets lost in all the internal checking.
Native speakers don't monitor their speech this way because they trust their language to come out.
That trust is actually the core of what confidence really means in language communication for everyone.
Trusting that the right words will come, that you'll be understood, that mistakes can be recovered.
How do you build that kind of trust when English isn't your first language, though, honestly?
Through deliberate, repeated practice where you intentionally resist the urge to monitor and correct yourself.
You practice letting sentences out without stopping yourself and inspecting them before they leave your mouth.
It feels uncomfortable and scary at first because you're used to that monitoring as protection from mistakes.
But every time you let a sentence out without stopping yourself, you're building that language trust.
And the more you trust your language, the more naturally and fluently it actually starts coming out.
It's one of those beautiful virtuous cycles where the solution creates more of itself over time.
Now let's talk about specific confidence building strategies that actually work in real life today.
Yes, because insight without action doesn't change anything. We need practical tools people can use immediately.
The first strategy is something I call the commitment to completion in conversation practice sessions.
Commitment to completion. What does that mean exactly in practical terms for our learners today?
It means committing to completing every sentence you start, no matter what happens along the way.
So even if you realize mid-sentence that you've made a grammar error, you keep going?
You absolutely keep going because stopping to correct yourself is more disruptive than just finishing the thought.
Native speakers do this naturally. They finish sentences even when they realize something was grammatically off.
Then they might briefly correct or rephrase naturally, but the conversation momentum never gets killed by it.
Like, she went to the store. I mean, she goes there every Tuesday, actually, for groceries.
See how naturally that self-correction happened without creating awkwardness or killing the conversation's natural flow.
The commitment to completion keeps momentum going, and momentum is what creates confidence in conversation.
The second strategy is what I call deliberate imperfection practice, and it's wonderfully counterintuitive, honestly.
Deliberate imperfection practice. That sounds completely opposite to what every English student has ever been taught.
I know, but here's how it works and why it's incredibly effective for building confidence.
Okay, explain it. I'm genuinely curious because it sounds almost rebellious against traditional English learning approaches.
You deliberately practice speaking English without caring about making it perfect during the practice session at all.
So you just speak freely and naturally without any editing or self-correction during the practice time.
Exactly. You set a timer for 5 minutes and just talk about anything without stopping to fix errors.
Record yourself, talk to a partner, talk to the mirror. It doesn't matter as long as you just speak.
The goal is not perfect English. The goal is getting comfortable with the experience of imperfect English.
Because if you're comfortable with your own imperfect English, other people's reactions to it matter much less.
That desensitization to imperfection is incredibly powerful for breaking through the fear that keeps people silent.
The third strategy is studying confident speakers in English, not just studying English grammar and vocabulary.
Watch people who communicate powerfully and observe specifically what they do with their body, voice, and presence.
Not just what words they use, but how they deliver those words with conviction and energy.
Notice how they pause, how they make eye contact, how they use their hands while speaking.
Because confidence in communication is a full-body experience, not just a matter of correct vocabulary choices.
You can adopt these physical confidence markers even before your grammar reaches the level you want.
And when you adopt confident body language, your internal feeling of confidence actually increases to match.
There's research showing that physical confidence signals create internal feelings of confidence. It goes both ways.
So standing up straight and speaking clearly actually makes you feel more confident from the inside out.
Exactly. Your body and your mindset influence each other far more than most people realize, honestly.
Now, let's talk about recovering from mistakes, because this is where confidence really gets tested in conversation.
Yes, because even the most confident communicators make mistakes, and how they handle them is everything.
What do confident native speakers do when they make a grammar mistake in conversation? Walk us through it.
They say, wait, that came out wrong, or let me rephrase that. And then they just continue.
No prolonged apology, no shutting down, no excessive embarrassment, just a quick fix and moving forward.
The mistake becomes a tiny bump in the road rather than a full stop that ends everything.
And the listener has already forgotten about it by the time the speaker has finished rephrasing anyway.
Because listeners track the overall meaning and flow of conversation, not individual grammar moments within it.
Learning to treat your own mistakes this lately is genuinely one of the most powerful skills available.
When you can laugh at your own errors and keep going, confidence becomes self-sustaining and natural.
I once said I'm feeling very hunger right now instead of very hungry in a meeting.
Oh no, what happened? Did the mistake derail the entire conversation, or were people understanding about it?
My coworker smiled and said the grammar police aren't here today, and everyone laughed warmly with me.
And that lightness, that ability to laugh together about it, actually strengthened the connection between everyone there.
Exactly. The mistake became a bonding moment instead of an embarrassing catastrophe I had feared it would be.
That's what's possible when you're confident enough to recover lightly from mistakes without excessive shame or guilt.
Now, let's address the people thinking, but won't bad habits form if I don't focus on grammar?
This is such a fair and important concern that deserves a really honest and direct answer today.
Because parents, teachers, and well-meaning people have warned learners about forming bad habits for years, endlessly.
Here's the honest truth. Some habits do form through practice, which is why balance matters so much.
So you should still study grammar, still notice correct forms, still work on improving your accuracy consistently.
But studying grammar and speaking confidently are completely separate activities that should both happen regularly together.
You study grammar separately in lessons, through reading, through careful, deliberate practice of specific structures.
Then, when you're having conversations, you set the grammar studying aside and just communicate naturally and freely.
The grammar knowledge slowly integrates into your natural speech through consistent practice over longer periods of time.
It's not an overnight process, but it absolutely happens when you practice both ways consistently and regularly.
Think of it like learning to drive a car when you're completely new to the experience.
When you're first learning, you're consciously thinking about every single action while driving down the road.
Signal, check mirror, brake pressure, steering angle, every movement requires deliberate, conscious mental attention to execute.
But an experienced driver does all of those things without any conscious thought whatsoever while driving.
The skills became automatic through practice, just like grammar eventually becomes automatic through consistent speaking practice.
But you can't drive confidently on real roads while simultaneously consciously monitoring every single movement you make.
At some point, you have to trust the practice you've done and just drive the actual car.
That's exactly the confidence leap we're encouraging learners to take with their English speaking today.
Trust your practice, get on the road, and the skills will integrate naturally through real experience.
Now let's talk about something that feeds confidence in a really practical and immediate way always.
What is it? I want to know every single tool available for building English speaking confidence quickly.
Noticing and celebrating what you can do in English rather than only focusing on what you cannot do.
Oh, the gratitude practice for language skills. I actually started doing this and it really helps enormously.
Tell us, what do you notice that you can do in English when you really pay honest attention?
I can have completely spontaneous conversations without preparation, and people understand me well almost always, consistently.
That's genuinely remarkable. Do you remember when you couldn't do that and it felt impossible and scary?
Completely impossible. Even planned, simple conversations made my heart race with fear and anxiety back then.
That growth is real and significant, even if it doesn't feel like enough when you're in the middle of it.
Which is why deliberately noticing and celebrating it is so important for maintaining motivation and confidence over time.
Every learner has more English ability than they give themselves credit for when they honestly examine their skills.
Write down 5 things you can do in English today that you couldn't do a year ago, honestly.
Most people are genuinely surprised by how long that list ends up being when they really sit down to think about it.
Because growth in language is so gradual that you don't notice it unless you deliberately look backwards sometimes.
And that backward look at progress is incredibly fuel for forward confidence in future conversations and interactions.
All right, let's bring this incredible conversation to a meaningful close for all our wonderful listeners today.
We've established something really important together. Confidence carries communication further than perfect grammar alone ever can.
Grammar knowledge matters, and you should absolutely keep studying and improving your accuracy over time consistently.
But waiting for perfect grammar before speaking confidently is the single biggest mistake most English learners make.
Start building confidence now at your current level, and grammar improvement will follow through the practice naturally.
Commit to finishing sentences, practice deliberately speaking without self-correction sometimes, and recover lightly from mistakes.
Trust that native speakers are listening to your message, not inspecting your grammatical structures constantly while talking.
And remember, the most enjoyable person to talk with isn't the most grammatically perfect person in the room.
It's the most genuinely engaged, enthusiastic, and confidently present person in any conversation or gathering anywhere.
Be that person today, starting with your very next English conversation, no matter how small it is.
If this episode inspired you and gave you a fresh perspective, please give it a like now.
Subscribe to SpeakNext English Podcast so you never ever miss our valuable conversations like this one.
Share this with an English learner who needs to hear that their confidence matters more than their grammar.
Leave a comment telling us about a time you communicated successfully despite making grammatical mistakes in English.
We read every single comment, and your stories genuinely inspire us and our entire learning community.
Thank you so much for being here with us today at SpeakNext English Podcast, everyone.
Take care, speak boldly, make mistakes proudly, and keep improving your English every single day.
Goodbye, dear friends, and remember, your confident voice is more powerful than your perfect grammar, always.